Welcome to For the Love of Games. Today we are going to be learning how to play Mice and Mystics by PlaidHat Games.
First, we'll go over the mice and the minions, which are the main players in the game. There are 6 mice, and each of them has a hero card. The hero card describes the mouse in detail, including the mouse name, the mouse class or classes, the attack score, the defense score, the lore score, and the movement score. In addition, there are special features about each mouse that you should read carefully before playing the game. There is starting equipment for each mouse, and there is the mouse lives, which indicates how many injuries the mouse can sustain before they become captured. In addition to the hero card, each mouse and minion has an initiative card. For the mice, the initiative cards really parallel what's already on the hero card. And for the minions, you can see that each of the minions' characteristics, such as their attack score or defense score, is shown on the initiative card. The initiative cards are what determines the order of play. You will find the mouse's starting equipment in the search deck pile. Here we've pulled out the starting equipment for each of the 6 mice. Among the minions, there are small minions and large minions. The smaller minions include rat warriors and cockroaches. The larger minions include centipede and a spider. The size of the player is important as we think about how they will move about the game tiles. Now we're going to show you how to set up the game. The first thing you do when setting up the game is you bring out the storybook. In the storybook, you choose which chapter you want to play. In each chapter, there will be a story that you should read aloud, followed by information about how to play the game, including the chapter objective, the victory conditions, and the defeat conditions. You will also see information about how to set up the timer, noting where the chapter end is, and how to set up the party. There are also specifications about which cards will be played and which tiles will be laid out. The party setup describes which mice will be part of the game. In chapter 1, for example, 4 mice are called for. For each mouse that is chosen, you will find the mouse hero card, and then you will look at the starting equipment for each mouse and pull those out of the search deck. The starting equipment will be assigned to each of the mice according to their hero card. Once you've assigned the starting equipment, you will then pull out each mouse's initiative card. The initiative cards are what will direct the sequence of play and will be used later in the setup. In addition, for each mouse, you may choose a single starting ability. The starting ability for each mouse will be based on its mouse type or category. For example, Maginos is a mystic, and he can have only a mystic's ability, whereas Colin is a leader and a warrior, so the initial ability that you choose can be from the leader deck or from the warrior deck. Once you've selected each mouse and associated them with their abilities as well as their starting equipment, you're ready to move on to the next part of playing the game. An important part of the game is the game controller. This is a common feature in many collaborative games. This controller has several important features. For example, at the top of the controller, you see a clock-like element. This is called the cheese wheel. When minions have success by rolling a cheese icon, they get a slice of cheese. Once 6 cheese slices have shown up on the cheese wheel, then a surge happens. The hourglass marker, which starts at page 1, moves forward a page when there are surges or other special circumstances as described by the chapters during the game. You will also find on this game controller a place for you to put your encounter card deck as well as your search card deck. Along the right-hand panel of the game controller, you will see an area for the initiative cards. Once you've chosen the initiative cards for the minions and the mice that will be in play, for example, in Chapter 1, the minions are rat warriors, so you pull out the rat warriors card. You collect the initiative cards, and then you shuffle them randomly. Once they've been shuffled, you lay them in order from 1 through 8 on the initiative card counter. The player who is at spot 1 will be the first player to play, etc. Once you've gotten down to the bottom, then you go back up to the top. The sequence of initiative cards is important because there are times during the game where one player may be able to take action against a player that is lower on the initiative rung, but not against a player that is higher on the initiative rung. In addition, there are some players whose initiative card moves up the rungs as they are played. Next, we will talk about the game tiles. Now I will discuss the playing tiles themselves, which make up the game board on which the mice carry out their battles and seek to achieve their objectives. This setup is the setup described in Chapter 4, Barksburg Fields. In this setup, the victory condition is that the mice will win if they defeat the dastardly crow and all minions on the courtyard tile before the hourglass marker reaches the chapter end marker. You will examine the 4 tiles in the initial setup and note that there is not a courtyard tile available on that setup. This gives you a clue to how the game will be played. When you look at the tile setup, you'll want to ensure that the tiles for the chapter are appropriately aligned, and you'll want to find the initial starting space marked by a white mouse where the mice will start their adventure. I want to point out a few features that are important to know about the tiles. You will notice that each tile has a name. So for example, this is tile 7, the dining hall, or tile 3, the kitchen. The tile also has an arrow that points to the direction the tile should be aligned. When all tiles are together, their arrows should all be pointing in the same direction. Each tile has several squares on it that mice can travel on. So when a mouse is moving on their turn, they can move from square to square as long as the base of the mouse's figure can span the space between 2 slots. There are a couple key things to know about moving from square to square. One is a dark area such as these is a hole or a black space that a mouse cannot enter into. In addition, mice cannot cross over walls or other obstacles. In some cases, the obstacles are chairs or tables that you would find in a room, or, for example, the pipe of a sewer. Mice can sometimes climb on chairs, such as this one, but you can see it is outlined with a yellow line. The yellow line has arrows pointing in a specific direction. When a mouse moves against the arrow onto that tile, that move will cost him 3 spaces. When a mouse moves down an arrow, it is the same cost as 1 space. There are other components that are outlined in red. A mouse may never travel onto an item outlined in red unless it has the specific equipment necessary, which in most cases will be the hook and string party item. In addition, you'll notice that mice are small, but some of the minions are large. A large minion will fill a space completely, whereas a small mouse or small minions and mice can share a space In many cases, you can fit 4 mice or 4 minions onto one space. Additionally, there are some features to these tiles that you should be aware of. This is the starting spot for this adventure. All of the mice will start on that spot, and then, depending on the chapter specifications, you will place minions. There are rules about which minions will be placed and how you place them. In brief, minions go where you see footprints on the tiles. To figure out where to place minions and how to place them, please refer to the rule book. There are some special diagrams on the tiles as well. A square with a circular arrow, such as this, or this, represents a space where a mouse can explore by flipping the tile. Exploring can only take place when all of the minions have been removed from the tile that the mouse is departing from. Once a mouse comes to this spot and chooses to explore, the tile is flipped and realigned with the arrow pointing in the right direction. All of the mice land on the flip symbol, and an encounter card is drawn from the encounter deck that will describe what the setup or encounter is for this room. You will see there are footprints where the minions will be placed, depending on which minions the encounter would call for. And in addition, this room has 2 X's, just like this one does. If the encounter card calls for mousetraps, these are the spaces on which mousetraps would be placed. Another way that a mouse can explore would be by going from tile to tile. So for example, on this starting tile, if all of the minions are removed, a mouse could explore into this tile because there is an exit and an entrance that are lined up. If a mouse chooses to explore, an encounter card is also drawn for the new tile that the mouse explores to. However, if a mouse were to choose to explore from this tile to this one, you'll see that there is no exit space lined up, so that would be a forbidden move. However, if the tile were flipped over and lined up appropriately, you can see now that would be a valid move to explore from this tile to this tile, again, triggering a new encounter card. The other thing to point out is that the colors of the exits and the entrance must be the same. You'll notice there are orange sides and blue sides to the tiles. The blue sides represent the underground, while the orange sides represent above ground. In addition, there are some features that are unique to the tile. So for example, this is a square with a circular arrow that would be a flip token, but it has the symbol of a hook on it. That means that if a mouse were sitting here and wanted to flip the tile, it would need to access the party item, hook and string, in order to make that happen. When there is water on a tile, it changes the way that mice can move across it. When a mouse goes into the water, its turn ends. And then when it chooses to exit the water, it must roll 1 dice for every mouse on the square that it is currently occupying. If the mouse is alone, he will roll only 1 dice. If the mouse gets at least 1 star on a dice, then he exits the water and his turn ends. However, if the mouse is unsuccessful, in water that has arrows showing a current, it must move 1 block in the direction of the current. If the mouse is unsuccessful at the end of the tile and the current would push it off of the tile, that mouse is considered to be captured. As part of the description, I have explained how a mouse can be captured. If the mouse incurs injury equal to or greater than the number of hearts shown on its hero card, it is considered to be captured. A mouse can be rescued under certain circumstances. As soon as there are no longer minions on the board, the mouse can then be rescued and returned to the play space. This space can be adjacent to or on the same space as another mouse. However, if there are minions still on the board, the mouse skips a turn and must sit out its turn until there are no longer minions. Finally, it's important to note that when you're getting ready to play a chapter, that you also pay attention to the special chapter rules. For each tile, there are specific rules. For example, when you look at the table, you can see there's this number 1. That means when a mouse gets to the table, it can conduct a special search, pulling any one scroll card out of the search pile. Similarly, the tunnel entrance also has a special search. And you can see the sewers have number 1 and number 2, a special rule regarding leaving the sewers, and another special search. Pay close attention to the rules that apply to each tile for the chapter on which you're playing. Now let's get to the fun part, the playing of the game. Here we've set up the tiles according to the Chapter 1 specifications. Previously, we've collected the 4 mice in Chapter 1 with their hero cards, and we've given them each an ability according to their hero type. We've also equipped them with their starting equipment. We've reviewed the special powers, and in addition, we've placed the initiative cards on the initiative track, which you'll recall looked like this. We've set the chapter start on page 1 and ending on page 6 according to Chapter 1 rules. Now we will review again the special powers, and we see that Colin, who was born to lead, automatically gets 1 cheese in his stash if he's not placed in the first spot on the initiative track. Therefore, we will give him 1 cheese slice. All of the mice will start in the starting position, indicated by the white mouse in the diagram in Chapter 1. The chapter calls for 3 rat warriors, which will be placed simply on the 3 spots where minions can enter the game. We're now ready to play the game. On its move, a mouse must move and then may take one of several actions. Those actions can include scurrying, which means moving the same amount of spaces that it just moved, battling, following the battle rules, either with range, being able to see directly to a minion that it's battling, or melee battling, meaning it's adjacent to or in the same square as a minion, searching, which requires the rolling of a dice and picking up a search card if the dice shows a star, recovering, which would require the mouse to be wounded, or exploring. As described previously, exploring would take place when the minions are all defeated and there are no minions left on the tile. Exploring involves either flipping the tile or moving from one tile to the next. In this case, as you examine the tile, you'll see the only opportunity for exploring would be to flip the tile. Since we know that the objective of Chapter 1 is to get all of the mice to the gnarled tree in the courtyard, we know we'll be able to travel from tile to tile, and ultimately we'll have to flip the final tunnel entrance tile to make it become the courtyard tile in order to win this chapter. So let's get started. First up on the initiative track is Tilda. Tilda has 2 movements. So we roll our dice and see that we give her 3 additional movements. So she will move 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's now sharing a space with a minion and is going to attack that minion. Tilda's mace is the weapon that she uses. When attacking with this mace, you can add 1 to the mouse's battle for any wounded mouse that is on the same space as Tilda. When she is in the defense position, she also has a leather breastplate. This leather breastplate allows her to roll one additional defense dice in addition to the one that she already has. So she has 2 attack points, so she'll roll 2. You can see she hasn't landed any hits to the minion, but she did roll a cheese slice, so she'll add this to her pack. The minion has 2 dice, or 2 defense, which he will then roll. And although he did roll a shield, he did not have to ward off any blows. And he also got a cheese slice, which is added to the cheese wheel or cheese clock. Next up on the initiative track are the Rat Warriors. You'll see there's only 1 Rat Warrior card, but there are 3 Rat Warriors. The Rat Warriors will take turns, starting with the rat closest to the mice, followed by the second closest and the third closest. Rat Warriors can only move and battle. Their moves are determined by the roll of a dice, so the first Rat Warrior must move 1. Minions move similar to mice, but they are unaffected by water, red lines, or yellow lines. So this minion will move 1, but he is still face to face with the mouse, and this is the mouse that he will be battling. If a minion has a range weapon and can see a mouse from its spot, it does not have to move at all. The Rat Warriors only have melee weapons. So the Rat Warrior will roll 2. It's rolled a cheese slice, but no blow that the mouse needs to defend. Nevertheless, the mouse will roll 2. She would have been lucky here because there are 2 shields, but she did not need to fend off a blow. The next minion to move is the second closest. This one will move 2 and lands in the square with the mice. This is going to be important later because when mice share a square with a minion, they can only leave that square if the remaining number of mice is greater than or equal to the minions in the square. This minion has the choice of which mouse he wants to battle. And let's just say he's going to battle Maginos. So the mouse rolls 2 dice, does not get a hit, but does get a cheese slice. And Maginos has only 1 defense. So Maginos will roll 1, also getting a cheese slice out of the battle. Finally, the third minion will make his move, and he can move 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. This minion is not in a position to do battle. Next up is Maginos. Maginos has 2 movement. He also has a range weapon. You can see that Maginos' magic staff looks like a bow and arrow behind the +1. When attacking a figure that is on the same space, the staff is treated as if it is a blunt melee weapon. But he has range, so all he needs to do is to be able to see a minion to attack it. Maginos will move. I give him 2 + 2, so he can move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he has a straight line to this minion, which means he can use his range weapon. You can see on his hero card he has only 1 weapon, but the staff gives him an additional dice to roll. When you're rolling range weapons, you do not want to roll swords, but instead want to roll bows and arrows. Let's say that this roll showed 2 bows and arrows. The minion would then have to roll 2 shields to defend himself, and in fact only rolled 1 shield, which means he sustains 1 injury. This initiative card shows us that the Rat Warriors do not have life. They've sustained an injury and they're gone. It takes only 1. The next up after Maginos would be Colin. Colin will attack first because he's on the square, same square as this minion. Colin has 2 attack, but also has a sword that gives him a 3rd dice. So he'll roll 3 dice to attack, and you can see he has 2 blows. The minion rolls 2 dice because they have 2 shields. And you can see the minion has not rolled a single shield, so both of those blows hit, and this minion is also removed from the play. Now Colin can move. He has 2, plus the 1 on the dice makes 5. So he'll move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he's in position to flip the tile as soon as the last minion is defeated. Next we have Nez. Nez is a Tinkerer warrior who can move 1. His hammer is a blunt tool, and when it's used adjacent to a minion, adds 2 to the battle, but if it is used in the same square as the minion, only adds 1. So I would like Nez to try to move closer to this minion so he can try to attack, so I will let him move first. He starts with 1 move, and I give him 3 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's not quite adjacent. As you can see, the base of Nez's character doesn't quite span the distance between his space and this minion's space. So instead of battling, I'm going to have Nez do searching, and I've rolled the dice but no star comes up. Let's say hypothetically the star has come up. He would then draw off of the top of the search pile. He gets the shifting cloak, which is part of the armor. However, this requires a mystic or a scamp, and Nez is a Tinkerer warrior, so this card is discarded. Now, it's important to note that when search cards are drawn, a mouse can keep the search cards, but can only carry 3 in its pack. So, for example, if a mouse got another breastplate, because the space where the breastplate would go is already filled, that mouse would either have to discard the old one or discard the new one. In addition to the 3 items in the pack, items that are considered party items are stored collectively in this space on the game controller. And tricks and scrolls do not count towards the items that are stored in a pack. Lastly, the fortune cards or the treachery cards are cards that must be played immediately. Next up we have Tilda, who is face to face with a minion and does have the opportunity to attack the minion. So I will take her to battle and roll these in the hopes that we get a hit and a cheese. She'll take another cheese. And the minion will roll 2 to try to defend that hit. The minion also gets a cheese and successfully defends the hit with the shield. So he is not removed. Now Tilda has to move. She can move 2 spaces and 2 more according to this dice. 1, 2, 3. She will also wait to flip the tile. There's 1 rat warrior remaining, and that rat warrior is going to move 3 spaces and land on the tile flipping space, where he will use 2 attacks to attack Colin. There's 1 hit and 1 cheese. The rat warriors now have 5 cheese slices. 1 more cheese slice moves our clock up a page and triggers a surge. He will attack, inflicting 1 hit. Colin has only 1 shield, and he did not deflect the hit, so he will take a red heart on his card showing his injury. Since that is the only rat warrior left, we move on to Maginos, and now all of the mice are in line to attack, so I will make Maginos attack first with his 1 plus another 1 for his magic staff. Since he is not on the same space as the minion, his magic staff does not lose its magic power. And you can see the magic staff is a ranged weapon and has landed 1 hit. He also gets 1 slice of cheese. The minion must defend that hit by rolling a shield, and has not rolled a shield, but has rolled a slice of cheese. So the minion is removed. However, there are now 6 slices of cheese in the cheese clock. When the cheese timer is full, you move the hourglass marker up 1 page closer to the chapter end marker. Then you check the chapter instructions to see if there is anything special about a surge in this chapter. For chapter 1, there are no special surge rules. Because there are no chapter-specific instructions, you will then follow the surge effect on the face-up encounter card, and if there is no face-up encounter card, no minions are placed for the surge, but the hourglass marker is still moved. All of the cheese is removed from the wheel. Now that the surge has taken place, we move on to Colin's turn. So Colin will explore to start his turn. And by exploring, he's going to flip the card, moving all of the mice onto the flip symbol of the other side of the card. When the card is flipped or exploring takes place, an encounter card is then turned over. Because we are on page 2, the minions that will show up here on this tile include 1 elite rat and 2 rats. We must first find the elite rat and the 2 rats. An elite rat is a rat that is indicated by a special token. These rats will be placed according to the minion placement rules, which you can read in the rule book. In addition, since we've added a character, an initiative card for the elite rat must be added to the initiative ranking. Since it is still Colin's turn, he can now move. But he's in the water. So what Colin will do is move 1. A mouse in water cannot move against the direction of the current. In order to exit water, the mouse must roll the dice on his next turn. He can roll a die for each of the mice that share the space with him. So let's just hypothetically say that the mice, all except for Tilda, actually Nez is the next mouse. So let's just say Nez moves into the same space. On Colin's next turn, he can roll 2 dice. If he rolls a die with a star on it, then he can exit the water and his turn ends. If, however, he rolls dice and he fails to move out of the water, he is moved in one direction of the current itself. If a mouse is forced off of the tile by the current, that mouse is then captured. Additionally, for a mouse to explore off of a tile with water, all of the mice must be on the same side. And this is actually described in the special rules of Chapter 1, where you see the sewer tile allows for a special search, fishhook and thread, which allows mice to get to high places quickly, and a special rule leaving the sewers. Before a mouse can use an explore action on an exit area to leave the sewers, all other mice must be on the same side of the water as the exploring mouse. Let's just say the mice have now successfully battled the minions and removed them from this tile and are ready to move. And let's just say one mouse, let's just say Maginos, has been captured because he had too many damages inflicted on him by the minions. When the mouse is captured, he loses his cheese slices and may keep his original starting equipment, his ability, and his hero card. A mouse can be rescued when all the minions are removed. So on his next turn, Maginos gets back into play. Then the mice adventure into the next hall. When exploring or adventuring takes place onto a new tile or a new side of a tile, and a new encounter card is drawn, and depending on what page you're on, you then fill the tile with the minions that are called for. In this case, for page 2, it would be 3 rats, or page 3 would be 2 rats and 4 roaches. The X represents a spot for a mousetrap. If the encounter card had mousetraps, the mousetrap would be placed here, and the specific rules regarding how to cross over mousetraps are detailed in the rule book. Ultimately, you want these mice to be able to travel through, get rid of the minions, get to this tile, and be able to travel to the flip space on the tile, defeat the minions there, and land here, followed by a trip to the gnarly tree while battling the minions on this page. As you can see, this game is quite complex, but can be very exciting and constantly changing. The encounter cards are never the same twice. Searching can give you many different prizes, armor, weapons, and other special skills. And if you stockpile enough cheese slices, you can level up by getting another ability card, in which case you would then choose which ability cards to use on your turn. Now that I've explained the basics of playing this game, I'm going to let you go play on your own. This is a complex game, and there's no way you could memorize all of the rules or nuances of the game. I encourage you to use the rule book often and refer to the chapter that you are playing, because the chapter will also have special rules, for example, about what happens in a surge or when a mouse goes exploring. Have fun and enjoy playing.
Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications whenever our new videos come out.